Hello Max and Jitter fans, it's tutorial number 40, Jit GL Basic, Introduction number 3. And so saying, we go back to introduction number 2 and look at what a great job we did. Here we have our little B-patcher of a TV playing, our video looper as it were. Not to be showing off here, but it does lots of things. And here we have Jongly playing. I can prove it. There we go. See? But I've turned it down for our insanity. And I've done something else that you might not have noticed. I put this little guy up here that makes the JIT world Fluffy invisible. And now it's visible. There it is. So this is what's going on. The JIT catch is turning Jongly into one matrix. We're mixing it with another matrix that's coming out of here, being turned into a texture called salt. That is then being applied with Jit GL mesh to the grid shape torus, otherwise known as a donut. Everybody feel up to speed here? Let's start having a little bit of fun and doing things that we want to do. And the first, to me, most obvious thing is that this thing's a little dark, isn't it? I mean, you want a donut. I mean, let's take a look at pepper. That's a little bit better, but whoops, I was just going to flip it around. It's pretty dark to look at, you know? So, salt and pepper, still pretty dark. So let's see what we can do about that, and we get to learn about the jit.fx that we were avoiding in previous tutorials when we were only working with matrices. All right, so let's get a new object up here. Unlock your patcher, type a J, type fx, type dot, Berkoza. Anybody remember Berkoza? Brightness, contrast, saturation. Yay, Berkoza. And we'll pull the Jit GL texture thing down here. Move this over, push the shift key down, and it should pop right in there. Okay, so what makes Jit Berkoza operate? I seem to believe that it's brightness, contrast, and saturation, and that those are the words that you use, but we can check by going over to the inspector and taking a look. Oh, excuse me, not the inspector, the reference. There you go. So attributes, brightness is the word brightness, contrast is the word contrast, and saturation is the word saturation, and we're going to bet too that these go anywhere from 1 below. If you go down to 0, then it's black. If you go above 1, then it gets very, very bright. So we're going to give ourselves some latitude here and figure out a way that we can adjust this up to, let's say, 5, so it can really make this quite bright and quite contrasty and quite saturated. Why not? So I'm even going to move these a little bit further down there so I can get in here and say message brightness string, that's a $1, and then whatever goes through here will whatever number here, we'll just type a float, type F for float, sorry. I'm too fast for myself today. And then we lock our patcher and we see what it does. So that's at 0, so when this goes like that, it's very, very dark. Take a look at that. But as we move up toward 1, we get back to where we were, and then up to 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. It's pretty bright. It could be maybe even brighter, but maybe that's a function of contrast or something. Could it be brighter? We'll see. No, it looks like it, no matter how high we go, that's pretty much it. We achieve our maximum brightness around 5. So we're going to leave it there, and then we'll just copy this and move it over, and copy this and move it over. And then we'll change this one to contrast. And this one to saturation. And then we connect them. Hold that shift key down, let that shift key up. There we go. And then I'm going to put a 1 in there and a 1 in there to see what happens. So let's keep our eyes on this, and we'll go up, higher contrast. Seems to kind of cut down on the brightness. And, oops, sorry, there's lower contrast. And then saturation, this is low saturation. Oh, I'm sorry. No wonder it's not working the way I'm expecting. We're looking at the wrong thing. This is the peppers. Hello. Texture, salt. Oh my goodness, look at our blown out shape here. Okay, back to the starting board. Sorry, everyone. 1, 1, 1. That's what it's supposed to look. This is normal. And then let's... No wonder that brightness wasn't doing what I was expecting. But now we're moving it up, oh, very, very bright, up to 5. And turn up the, woo, contrast. Very sensitive the contrast is. And saturation too. So we can go down and just make it gray, or we can go up and fill it with, well, I think it's so blown out that, there we go. There's regular contrast, and, whoops, my mouse is too insensitive here. Twice the brightness. So that is something that we can do to be able to see this now. And whoop, whoop. Maybe it's just not quite the right movie for this. Let's where's our dish movie? There we go. That's more like it. So with dishes, you can sort of get a feeling for what's going on here. Maybe we'll stop all that moving around, or at least some of it. So one would admit that this is quite a bit brighter than it was before, and now we can just go very, very bright. It's almost blown out. Contrast down, and contrast up, and saturation down to 0, only black and white, and up to very, very blown out colors. So that's very cool that we can adjust that as it moves out there. But I want to stop for a minute and show you a way, maybe, to automate this and make it more fun to use. So the first thing that we're going to do is encapsulate this, because it's going to give us more room to work, because then we have just a little box that does what we want it to do. So let's unlock our patcher. We'll grab this like this, and we'll say Shift Command E, and it should, and let's call this Bercosa Changer. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll lock our patcher, and we'll just click on it. So let's pull this down near the bottom, because that's the outlet, and think about how we would maybe automate what this does. And I'm going to show you an object here. It is called, type in N, and it's called cycle. Cycle with a tilde, because it's a wave cycle, and then the argument ends up being the frequency, i.e. the number of revolutions. Let's put 1.0, oops, 1.0, not 1/0. And then we'll need to get a number box down here, but not the typical kind. So type N and type number, and it's the number with the tilde. And there it is. And this will show us what's going on. So kind of once per second, cycle is going to run from 0 up to 1, back down to 0, back down to -1, and then back up to 0. It is really sort of just giving you like as if it was drawing a circle and just giving you how high the circle is. I guess a sinusoidal output, if you will. But that's what it does. It's just going to run up and back and up and back and up and back. And so since we know it's going to go to 1, and we can control how fast it does this too. Here, let's put a float on here and give it a smaller number to work with, like there, 0.2, and now you can see it going much, well, not a whole lot slower, but slow enough that you can see it's, now we're going up to 1, now we're going back down to -1, now we're going back up to +1, going around in a circle. Maybe we could even get it slowered even slower. There it is. So counting very slowly now down and going around in its circle. Well, we know it's going to go from -1 to +1. So let's unlock our patcher and put a scale object in here. And we'll do this because, oddly, we don't really want the tilde object here, even though we have a tilde object above us. Because we want the output to be a regular float. So let's just say scale, and then the low number coming in is going to be -1.0, and then the high number going out is going to be coming in is going to be 1.0, and then the low number we want to send out for brightness is, let's just say, going to be 0, and the high number is going to be 5.0. Okay, and so this one is going to be putting out a wave number, a signal number, but this one will put out a digital number. It's just going to be the value of that signal. So we'll have that, and then we'll connect this to that, and we should just see brightness then start going up and down between, and we can have it go a little bit faster than that. So now you can see that this is getting brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer, right? So that's a good way to do that. And I'm sort of building this so that we can make it controllable in the future. And I think you'll sort of get the idea why here. So let's just pick out a speed that we like for this happening here. Do we like it slower? .05 is a little slow. How about 0.1? That's kind of nice. Let's just say 0.1. And now that we know that that's what it is, let's unlock our patcher. And of course we could make this settable, but it starts to be too many variables for me anyway. So cycle 0.1, And now we'll have that there. And we don't really need this anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. So imagining forward from here, that outside of this, we're going to stick a slider that will either control the brightness or show you what the brightness is when it's cycling. Does that make sense? So on one hand, it's a display, and on the other hand, it's a control. More or less, when we turn this cycling off, we want to be able to control the brightness. So that's a little tiny bit tricky, but it's not too tricky. So let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to do that. Let's put in a dummy slider here. There's our slider. And what did we say for brightness? I always make them a little wide so I can make sure that I can get at all their outlets without making a mistake. So we are going to scroll down. We're going to say float the output. We're going to say the entire range of this thing is 5.0 and the minimum is 0. So we should be good to go. Make sure you click float output or it'll just be a mess. Okay, and then we'll need a toggle. So just type the letter T. And what is the toggle going to do? Well, the toggle is going to open the gate to this slider that will be coming in here, and it will also be opening and closing a switch down here to select its outputs. So let's go ahead and type N, and then just gate, and 1, it's only going to have one outlet, and we want it to start on 1. You know, for consistency's sake, I know this is going to seem crazy. Just bear with me for a second. I'm thinking ahead. And I hate doing that, but here we go. I'm going to make it a 2-outlet gate so that when I duplicate this and move it down here and say I want a switch, the switch will be the same as the gate, and that way they can use the same control. I know this is all sounding very complicated, but maybe it's not. I'll show you in a second. So toggle gets connected to the gate because, well, let's go ahead and do that. But what it really needs is a +1. So type in N, then a plus, then a 1, right? Because a toggle puts out a 0 when it's off or a 1 when it's on. This needs to be a 1 or a 2, and this needs to be a 1 or a 2. That's why I made this have two outlets. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down here and pop that right in there. There it goes. And then this comes down, connects to the right-hand inlet. The left-hand inlet comes down and goes in the middle inlet of switch. And the +1 from the toggle is going to come down here and control it just like the gate. I'm going to hit Command Y so that I can make this more neat. There we go. Because you guys know me by now, right? All right. And this number flying out of here, we're going to move it to this switch. So now, because here's the problem. Cycle just runs, and it does this. So no matter what you input at the top, close gate, open gate, it's always going to be outputting stuff, and you can't stop it except with a switch. Now nothing will be coming out of here when we turn it off. But, yeah. Because otherwise whatchamacallit, would never, the slider would never say stay still. So, what is he talking about? We'll get to that. So up here, we also need an inlet for this switch, we need an inlet for this slide. So let's put them up there. Type N, type inlet, and then we say there. We need one there, and we need one here. However, what we don't actually need in here is either this toggle or this slider. So we are going to highlight them, and we are going to cut them, i.e. you can say copy and then delete or cut. So Command X on a Mac, probably Control X for a PC. And then this will take the place of the slider. And then outside of this whole thing will be our toggle and slider. So I'm just going to, unlock your patcher so you can paste it in there. Oh, that's way up there. Okay. And then here I have my usual set of funny ideas. How's that look? Not quite. It's getting there though. All right. Oh, but we don't have anything to put them in yet. Well, not quite. Okay, back inside this and we'll get to that. Lock your patcher, double click on this. Okay, so these are coming in. This is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then what we need is an outlet that says, that takes whatever number's coming out this switch and sends it up to those sliders. However, because those sliders then come back around in here, we have to make sure to put a little break in there, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type a message, and I type set string 1. What does set mean to a slider? It means go to the number that I'm telling you, but don't output anything. Just visually go to that spot, but don't send any output. And if you do that, it won't go into a vicious loop where it keeps sending the same data around. Not sure if you get my drift there, but if we didn't put this in here, the data would come out here. Let's say it was set on 1. 1 would come right through here, go around, hit the top of the thing, set it to 1. 1 would come out, come down through here, set it to 1. It would go around, and Macs would shut down. So we don't really want that. So out of this switch, we're going to hook to that set. And why did I do all of this like this in a big old column? Because I think, I'll show you. Just delete these. We don't really need them, do we? No. So we're just going to copy all of this with the set and the outlet and paste it twice. Okay? Does that make sense? Not the brightness part. So we got all this stuff, and then push your shift key down and get these two, and then just option click on all of that and slide it over. Oh, what a beautiful thing. And then do it again. So now all we have to do is hook up this switch to contrast and this switch to saturation, and we have the same thing running all over the place. But just for fun, let's change this one. Oops, unlock your patcher again. I just locked my patcher by accident. Let's to keep things interesting, we'll just like make this one like 0.077. How's that? so that they don't run at the same speed. It'll make for more interesting differentiation, I think. And this one can be 0.888, right? So we're pretty sure that now these couldn't possibly run at the same speed. Oh, you notice this one's not running? It's because I put 2 decimals in there, and that's confusing to it. Get rid of one of those, and boom, it's off and running. So now they'll be kind of in and out of phase with each other, although the 0.07 is pretty gosh darn slow. Maybe we'll have to make it like let's see, 0.888 is kind of fast. That's the real problem. No, 0.888 isn't that bad. 0.07 is really, yeah, 0.888 is really bad. It should be like 0.2 or 0.15 there. And then 0.077, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. So these will be running up and down. They're moving this, they're setting that. Each one of these is setting the sliders that'll be outside, and hopefully the toggles will then turn each one of them on and off. So let's go ahead and close this patcher, and then we just have a little hookup work to do here. Click in this patcher, unlock it, and hook your toggle, then your slider, then your toggle, then your slider, then your toggle, and then your slider. And then take this output and put it back in the top of your slider, not the bottom of the toggle, top of the slider. Top of the slider. And the top of the slider. And it already does not seem to, oh, well, let's, there we go. So I turned them all on, and now we see what the levels are, and I can turn supposedly any one of them off and adjust it myself. Down to dark, back up to fully blown out, and the same there. So whatever you like, you can keep it. Well, that is super, super cool. Let me just say that you can do this again and again for different things that are in this patcher to modify them. And so in the next video, I'm going to modify this for another different effect. So until we get to do that, I leave you with Fluffy going wild, and go, go, go. All right, everybody, patch well, and I will see you in the next tutorial.